always survived because of Venezuela. Now they won't have that money coming in. They won't have the income coming in. You know, a lot of Cubans were killed yesterday. You know that. A lot of Cubans were killed.
Do you know how many?
The bodyguards. No, they're looking, but there was a lot of death on the other side. No death on our side, but there was a lot of death on the other side, unfortunately. But a lot of Cubans were killed yesterday, trying to protect them.
There's been protesters killed in Iran. You said we were locked and loaded, ready to go. What is the line there for when the U.S. is going to get involved in those protests?
We'll take a look. We're watching it very closely. If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
And I just add something. So when he first got elected in January, we met, biggest comeback ever. We talked about
You think so, really? I didn't feel it was a comeback, actually.
So
Because the first one was...
The bottom line is, we talked about a drug caliphate in our backyard. We had Venezuela, we have Cuba, we have Colombia in our backyard. And these three countries have been condemned ever since I've been in politics. Joe Biden put a $25 billion bounty on Maduro's head. Chris Smith, the day he got inaugurated, said, I hope Trump will hold Maduro's feet to the fire. He did. So what has he done? He's going to clear our backyard of a drug caliphate, countries run by narco-terrorist dictators who murder, rape, send drugs into our country to kill thousands of our citizens. To my Democratic friends, you should be celebrating this. When bin Laden went down, I was the first to applaud President Obama. This was one of the most sophisticated military operations in the history of the country. What they were able to do was amazing. They knew we were coming. We had a good part of the Navy, and they were able to capture this man alive. No military in the world could have done it. And as to this commander-in-chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
By the way, you mentioned something that's interesting. Lindsay mentioned bin Laden. I wrote about bin Laden 1 year before the attack on the World Trade Center. And I said, you got to go after bin Laden. It was in my book. And very few people want to say that, but it was in my book. You know that. I think you've actually talked about it. But if they would have listened to me, they would have taken out bin Laden, then you wouldn't have had the World Trade Center tragedy.
Yeah, this is certainly going.
Did you know that? I predicted bin Laden.
I learned something every day.
No, but did you hear that?
Well, I did now. I just heard it right
No,
now.
I wrote a book. It was 1 year before the attack that the book came out, and it talked about, there's a whole page, a whole section dedicated to a guy named bin Laden who's a bad guy who you have to take out.
So, I'll get the book. But right after the election, he told me, I'm going to clean up our backyard. Now, this was before he took office. This is one of the president's priorities, is to make sure that people in our backyard, narco-terrorist states, will not continue to kill Americans without it. The number of people that will be alive today because Venezuela will be in different hands is going to be tens of thousands. This is something to be celebrated, whether you like him or not.
Not just Venezuela. It's what's coming out of Venezuela in the form of ocean-going and Gulf-going and sea-going boats. Every time we knock out a boat, and we've done a lot of them, we did 3 over the last few days, they're very rare now. You don't see too many of them. But drugs by sea are down 97%. Think of that. And now we're going to stop it by land, too. The land is easy. We had to do the sea before we did the land because it just works out.
Yeah, you were just talking about the land, but it sounded like...
And by the way, you have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together because They're pouring through Mexico, and we're going to have to do something. We'd love Mexico to do it. They're capable of doing it, but unfortunately the cartels are very strong in Mexico.
I remember one time you actually, speaking of Mexico, I asked you about Claudia Sheinbaum, and you told me at one point you had offered to send U.S. troops into
Sure, I
Mexico
did.
to combat drug trafficking there. Is that something you'll
I
still
like
talk
Claudia.
about?
I think she's a terrific person. I would say every single time I talk to her, I offer to send troops.
And she's just not willing?
She's concerned. She's a little afraid. The cartels are running Mexico. Whether you like it or not, it's not nice to say, but the cartels are running Mexico.
Yeah, speaking of those
They're-
U.S. troops, I mean, one thing that Americans and a lot of people are wondering, you just sounded like you weighed out another strike, another land strike at least in Venezuela. You sound like you weighed that out. But,
No, we didn't need it.
But-
We were prepared to do a second strike if we needed it. We're totally prepared.
but that's
And
off
we're
the
still
table.
prepared.
That's off the table now.
No, it's not. If they don't behave, we will do a second strike.
Will you demand
The
that
question is
Venezuela-
that the American troops, are they going to be on the ground? They're doing any kind of peacekeeping. I think Americans are very...
Depends on what happens. It depends a little bit on the new administration, if you want to call it.
So do you see that pushback from Rodriguez and ultimately...
Well, I don't think it was pushback. I think that,
She called
frankly,
it...
well, you know, you hear a different person than I hear.
Really? So you have spoken?
We talked to them.
Oh, you did speak.
They've been very good.
Because she called it kidnapping of Maduro.
So it's not a bad term. Go ahead.
Now, are you going to demand that Delcy Rodriguez let opposition figures return or free any political prisoners?
We haven't gotten to that yet. Right now, what we want to do is fix up the oil, fix up the country, bring the country back, and then have elections.
Now, is it fair?
We better bring the country back. Otherwise, you're gonna have a mess that's so bad. It was really bad. It's going to get a lot worse unless we go in and fix it.
Is the U.S. going to reopen its embassy in Caracas or get the
We're thinking about it. We've been asked to do it.
You
We've
had...
actually been asked to do it.
Do you think you and Putin and on the phone, of course, with Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago,
Yeah.
you told me that...
Numerous times.
You told me that your New Year's resolution was peace on earth. Do you think that 2026, if you could set a deadline in the Russia-Ukraine...
I don't do deadlines, but I would say that, you know, like as an example, Thailand and Cambodia. I was very proud of that. Wait a minute. And they started up again and they got it solved.
Where does that
I give
actually
myself 1/4 of a point for that. So now I'm 8 1/4 points because they started up Thailand and Cambodia and now it's okay.
So where does it actually stand between Russia
I think
and
we'll have a
Ukraine
deal
right now?
at some point, hopefully in the not too distant. So I don't know if you saw the numbers just came out. 30,000 soldiers were killed this current month.
And there was that
30,000. 27,000 the month before.
You and Senator Graham discussed additional Russia sanctions.
We discuss it all the time. There's nothing else I talk to him. I don't consider him very exciting to talk to, except when we're talking about legislation. And we talk about legislation all the time. You think that's an exciting relationship? It's not. But we talk a lot about legislation, and we have great legislation coming. You want to tell us?
So the tariff bill, so here's what I believe. I don't think we could have secured the border without the threat of tariffs. I don't think we'd have a European trade deal without the threat of tariffs. So if you want to end this conflict, then put pressure on Putin's customers. He sanctioned the 2 largest oil companies in Russia, which is the biggest pressure anybody's put on Putin since the war started. But we have 85 co-sponsors to give this president...
It's hurting Russia very bad, the sanctions.
Oh, yeah. So this bill would allow...
And India also is well.
Yes, sir. So he put a 25% tariff on India for buying Russian oil. I was at the Indian ambassador's house about a month ago, and all he wanted to talk about is how they're buying less Russian oil. Would you tell the president to relieve the tariff? This stuff works. So I'm hoping we'll bring the bill up, and it's from 0 to 500. He picks the number. Nobody else does. But if you're buying cheap Russian oil, keeping Putin's war machine going, we're trying to give the president the ability to make that a hard choice by tariffs. I really do believe that what he did with India is the chief reason India is now buying substantially less Russian oil. So I hope we pass this bill soon. And after
Well,
this...
they wanted to make me happy, basically. He wanted it. Modi's a very good man.
Yes.
He's a good guy. He knew I was not happy, and it was important to make me happy. They do trade, and we can raise tariffs on them very quickly, and it would be
People are
very
afraid
bad
of
for
that.
them.
All that said, you told me you were very thrilled.
And I'll tell you something, the Russian economy is lousy. But what's really lousy is the Venezuelan economy. The Venezuelan economy is, I think, the worst economy I've ever seen. If you look at inflation, things are doubling every day. It's a disaster. We got to fix the country fast.
President Trump, are there going to be any more? You said the oil companies are going to go in there. Are there any other companies that you've talked to about dealing with Venezuela? Maybe Mr. Lutnick could talk about that. Are there any other corporations, entities outside of oil?
Outside of the oil business.
Like who?
Well, the oil business, yes, but outside, yes. How would you
They have steel, you have minerals, right? All the critical minerals. They have a great mining history that's gone rusty. So steel, aluminum, but minerals, I mean, this is all, it's a rich. It was once upon a time one of the great economies and cultures of the world, and it was destroyed, and now President Trump is going to fix it and bring it back. For the Venezuela.
But it's not easy. It's really gone bad.
Any rare earth?
But it's got potential. What?
Maybe any rare earth minerals?
They have rare earth, but everybody has rare earth. Rare earth is not rare. What's rare is the processing. We're doing processing plants. There's no such thing as rare earth. The rare earth is everywhere. What isn't everywhere is the processing of rare earth, and we have a lot of places going up right now.
One thing the producers will react to is the Minnesota fraud that we've seen play out.
Well, it just doesn't get worse. I've reacted. It's almost not even believable. This very stupid, low IQ governor, he's a very stupid man, because, I had a campaign against him with JD. And he's a stupid man. And he's a corrupt politician. And the Somalians are ripping off our country to the tune of, looks like $19 billion, but that's only what they can find. So usually when you're looking at 19, that would mean it could be 50. But the numbers are astronomical. Think of it. They have a dead country. They don't have government. They don't have anything. They don't have a military. All they do is run around shooting people and trying to capture ships. We don't let them take ships anymore. You know why? We use the same exact missile on them that we use on the drug carriers. And it's very effective. You notice there's nobody capturing ships anymore? Because as they head out to go capture the ship, and the ship doesn't want to fire back because it's very flammable stuff in many cases. And the insurance companies don't want, because they build $1 billion ship, and they don't want anybody firing rockets into the ship. But we're hitting them so hard, and it's very similar. Same missile system. It's called deadly accurate. And you notice that ships aren't being taken anymore. The pirates aren't.
Those Somali
It's actually very easy. They head out. We say, guess what? There's pirates. Being that's the end of the pirates. The shipping business is coming back. See, these are little things that we're doing, and I'm doing it not just for American ships. I'm doing it worldwide because we don't want ships taken by Somalia pirates. But what they are doing is they're stealing money from the American taxpayer. And every one of them should be forced to leave this country, including Ilhan Omar, who's a total crook. And she's one of the leaders of it. Not the only, because she's not that smart. But think of it. $19 billion at least they've stolen from Minnesota and from the United States. It's actually more from the United States because Minnesota puts in, and we're not going to pay it anymore. We're going to have walls go pay. We're not going to pay them, and we're not going to pay California, and we're not going to pay Illinois with that big slob of a governor that they have that doesn't want, we brought down crime by 25%. He didn't do anything. He's not doing anything. But they want us to leave. He had a day where they had 17 murders, not too long ago. 17 murders and 77 people shot, but 17 died. And then he talks about, we can handle it. He can't handle it. But we pull back, and we'll go in at the appropriate time. But we're the ones that brought the crime down. We brought it down 20%. They didn't bring it down. Pritzker didn't bring it down. Same thing with Gavin Newsom. If we didn't go in to Los Angeles 7 months ago when they had the riots, even the police commissioner, the head of police, said if we didn't have the federal government go in, we would have lost total control of the city of Los Angeles, and they would have had to cancel the Olympics. Think of that.
Speaking of Los Angeles, the National Guard, you pulled out the National Guard out of Portland
We did.
in Los Angeles.
You know what? You know that Portland, we got it down to almost no crime. You know that? But we pulled it out. We had a Supreme Court decision. We can go back. We're allowed to go back in. But we'll go back in when the crime starts. Look, the crime will soon start because they now know that we're out. And at the appropriate time, we'll go back in. And we may, if we're allowed to. The most powerful thing we haven't used the Insurrection Act.
You're considering using the
I've
insurrection.
always
Where?
considered it, but we haven't needed it anywhere. 48% of the presidents of this country have used it. Bush used it, I think, 22 times or something. You know that. I mean, Bush the elder.
What are your short-term next 2 weeks? What do you need from Delcy Rodriguez? You've threatened
Just
them.
total access. We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in their country that allow us to rebuild their country.
What are the things?
A lot of things. Roads that aren't built, bridges that are falling down. Yeah, bridges that are falling down, nobody can go anywhere.
And on Greenland,
What, Greenland now?
yeah, on Greenland.
How did we come up to Greenland?
So, do you expect to take an action against Greenland?
Well, I don't want to talk about Greenland. Let's talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days.
On Venezuela, we talked so much about energy.
By the way, I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dome sled. It's true. They thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification
Oh, I don't want to talk about Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it, and they know
Are
that.
you
I think
worried
there's
at all
some
that
confusion
the
about-
operation in Venezuela will affect your relationship with Xi Jinping in China?
No, I don't think so. I have a very good relationship. We have the power of tariffs, and he has other powers on us.
Are you still planning to travel to see him in April?
Yeah, I'll be going in April.
I think there's some confusion from Americans and maybe the community world when it comes to what you said about Rodriguez earlier today in a phone interview. You said that she would face the same fate, if not worse, than
Worse.
Maduro. But it sounds like you're talking to her on the phone
Yeah.
and wanting to work
Not
with
me,
her.
my people.
And
It's the
you
same.
are considering her power. Can you just clarify where you stand on Delcy Rodriguez right now being in
I don't have to tell you. I just say that she will face a situation probably worse than Maduro. Because, Maduro gave up immediately.
So she could also
He raised his hand, he gave up. And he did the right thing, but he gave up. So we were so effective, and it was so fast and violent. It was very violent. But we were so effective, he raised his hands and gave up.
What was the most violent moment
I
during
don't want to tell you.
Did you get a
There were some bad moments, but there was some very violent moments. I don't want to tell you.
Did you get a briefing at all on Maduro's first night in U.S.
Yes.
custody, and what can you tell us?
I have a
about
total briefing on every aspect of it, but I don't think it's appropriate to talk to the press about it. You'll find out.
When it comes to him in court tomorrow, I mean, what's the end game here with Maduro?
There
Does
is
he just
no-
rot in
We're
a
just
U.S.
going to go
prison?
through a slog of a trial. The judge is very respected, Judge Hellerstein. He's a highly respected judge. We'll see how we do. The case it's infallible. People are so happy with what we've done. You go down to Miami, you go down to a lot of places, and they're all dancing in the streets of this country. He was a rough man. Killed millions of people. He killed millions and millions of people.
After he stands
Can
trial,
I just say something? This is a good thing, not a bad thing. President Biden put a $25 million bounty on the guy's head. Why? because he was a horrible criminal, murderer, poisoning our people. Every administration has been saying he's a threat to our country. He's a bad guy. This is the first guy that's actually done something about it. Here's the story for me. He could be in Turkey today, but he's in New York. So if you tell people in Cuba, you need to stop being a communist dictatorship threatening America, you should go somewhere else. You better take the offer. Maduro has nobody to blame but himself. He gave him a way out. He chose to defy Trump and the U.S. military, and his ass is in jail where he deserves to be, and every president has said the same thing, but he didn't.
One of the things that is happening, I think you see it all the time. Howard, you've seen it. And Cuba is ready to fall. You know?
Yes.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out.
Is there a final
But
straw?
Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it.
Is there a final
And
straw?
Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Marco Rubio has really